My name is Sophia Bennett, and I'm a trauma therapist in the sleepy suburbs of Portland, Maine. Ironic, right? I spend my days helping clients unpack the slow poison of institutional control while carrying scars from the very same flavor of tyranny right outside my own front door. But that night, at 2:17 a.m., changed everything. It wasn't just another HOA citation. It was the moment the neighborhood tyrant finally crossed the line she could never uncross. The pounding started exactly like a bad horror movie, except the monster wore a pastel polo shirt with Pinecrest Estates HOA president embroidered in perfect cursive. Karen Whitaker. Even through the reinforced door of my little townhome, I recognized that particular brand of rage, the one wrapped in fake concern for property values and community harmony. Open up, Sophia. We know you're in there violating covenants again. Her voice dripped with that sugary politeness she used at every board meeting, the same tone she used when she fined Mrs. Alvarez $500 for having the wrong shade of beige on her shutters. Beige 47 versus beige 48. Because apparently one wrong hue could tank the entire housing market and send us all into the poorhouse. I fumbled for my phone on the nightstand, heart hammering, but before I could hit record myself, I heard the second voice that turned my blood to ice. Karen, honey, maybe we should just file the report and let the board handle it in the morning. My mother's voice. Patricia. Thin, trembling, the same tone she used when she apologized for Karen's tough love during last month's newsletter blast that called me the resident who thinks she's above the rules. Through the peephole, I saw them both under the porch light. Karen, all 5'4" of manicured menace, red-faced and clutching her master key like a sword, and behind her my own mother, holding up her phone with shaking hands, the screen light painting her face in guilty blue. Mom, what the hell are you doing? I called out, voice cracking. I'm sorry, baby, she whimpered. I'm recording this for the board's evidence, so they can see you're not cooperating. Evidence. The word hit like a slap. She was standing there watching the HOA president try to force my door while I was in my pajamas, and her solution was to film it like some twisted homeowner's insurance policy. The master key clicked. The deadbolt gave with a metallic shriek that sounded exactly like every dream I'd had of this moment. Karen stumbled inside, sensible loafers crushing the welcome mat I'd dared to buy in the unauthorized navy that apparently clashed with the approved color palette. The smell hit immediately. Her signature lavender air freshener mixed with the faint bourbon she swore was just stress relief after board meetings. There you are, she snarled, eyes narrowing on the anti-HOA rights brochure I'd strategically left on my coffee table. Think you're too smart for the community? Think you can fill your mother's head with that subversive nonsense about fighting back legally? I'd made the mistake of leaving those flyers around the neighborhood coffee shops and my mom's mailbox for months. Karen must have found one in Patricia's purse. Karen, I don't want trouble tonight. Her hand shot out and slapped the brochure away, sending it fluttering like a wounded bird. Just like your mother, always playing the victim instead of supporting the standards that keep our property values up. Through my blurring vision, I saw Patricia in the doorway, phone still raised, lips moving in what might have been a silent prayer or another excuse. She didn't step forward. She didn't call security. She just filmed. Karen's loafer connected with my shin, flipping me onto the couch. The ceiling fan spun lazily above, mocking the chaos below. My thumb hit the side button on my phone 5 times, the SOS I'd set up years ago. Sirens wailed in the distance. Karen's face twisted from righteous fury to panic. You called them? You little rule breaker. You called the police on your own HOA president? The officers burst in before she could swing again. 2 of them pinned her while a third checked me for injuries. I remember the fragments after that. The EMTs, the cold cuff of the stretcher, Patricia explaining to the cop that she had it all on video for the association's records, as if that made her a hero instead of the woman who just watched her daughter get assaulted for a lawn violation that didn't even exist. At the hospital, they cataloged everything with clinical precision. Bruised shin, sprained wrist, mild concussion, and the fresh knowledge that my own mother had chosen the HOA over me again. The nurse held my hand while they wrapped the wrist. She didn't ask why Patricia sat in the corner clutching that phone like a holy relic. But I knew why. And lying there under the fluorescent lights, something crystallized with perfect clarity. Karen thought she'd won because she'd finally taught me respect. Patricia thought she'd won because she had footage for the next board meeting. They both had no idea what they'd actually done. They'd awakened the patient predator I'd been sharpening for 7 years. Not fear. Purpose. The morphine softened the edges, but couldn't blur the memories flooding back as I stared at the ceiling. Patricia sat in the visitor chair, wringing her hands between apologies and explanations I didn't want. My mind drifted back to the beginning, when Evergreen Meadows still looked like paradise instead of the gilded cage it became. I was 25 when I moved in, fresh off a bad divorce, craving the quiet suburbs everyone promised. Dad had died years earlier. Pancreatic cancer took him fast. Patricia and I had been a team back then, healing together over pancakes for dinner and shared Netflix nights. Then Karen Whitaker waltzed into our lives at a neighborhood welcome event. She was charming in that calculated way that made you doubt your gut. Brought Patricia fresh-baked cookies every Tuesday, remembered her coffee order, laughed at her nervous jokes about keeping up with the Joneses. She even won me over at first, showing up with a welcome packet and a personal tour of the approved plant list. She makes the neighborhood feel safe again, Patricia told me 6 months later, eyes bright the way they hadn't been since Dad. Is that okay, honey? Of course I said yes. I wanted my mother to smile. The changes started small. So small I thought I was imagining them. First it was my welcome mat. Wrong color. Karen explained sweetly at the first violation notice. Then Patricia's book club. Karen thinks it's silly to spend Tuesday nights gossiping instead of attending board meetings, she explained, canceling for the 3rd week. Her weekend brunches with old friends? Karen wants more community time. Linda, the vice president who always nodded along, stopped calling after Karen suggested she focus on neighborhood harmony. The financial control came wrapped in spreadsheets and logic. Karen suggested combining the Neighborhood Improvement Fund with stricter dues. It's what responsible communities do. She took over paying for landscaping projects. You work so hard, Patricia. Let me handle this. Patricia's personal checking account started needing approval for anything over $50. Don't be dramatic, Sophia. Karen's just protective of our investments. She's not controlling, she's caring. She chose Patricia's garden plants. Those roses are too flashy. She dictated meeting attendance. I don't like residents driving after dark without checking the newsletter first. She monitored the community Facebook group, just making sure you're safe. And through it all, Patricia made excuses. Love for the neighborhood looked like ownership now. Protection felt like suffocation, but she'd forgotten what freedom tasted like. So she called her cage community standards. I started staying late at my therapy office, joining every volunteer committee that would have me. Anything to avoid the monthly meetings where Karen held court like a queen on a throne of violation notices. Neighbors praised my dedication. Only my friend Marcus, another resident, saw through it one afternoon in the park. Everything okay at home? Sophia? Everything's fine, I lied. While inside I calculated how long I could keep playing the perfect resident before I started building the file that would end her. The summer before things got really ugly, I made one last attempt with Patricia while she was pruning the approved rose bushes. Mom, you know you don't have to live like this, right? Her shears stilled. For a moment, I thought I'd reached her. Then that empty smile. Karen cares about us, Sophia. When you're older, you'll understand compromise is part of living in a community. This isn't compromise, Mom. This is enough. The word came out sharp. I won't have you disrespecting Karen in her own neighborhood. She's been nothing but good to us. That's when I knew I'd lost the mother who once made pancakes for dinner. The one who used to laugh freely was gone, replaced by this hollow echo who called her prison paradise. I focused on saving myself. My practice grew. I specialized in clients crushed by institutional abuse, HOA victims, workplace bullies, the slow grind of bureaucracy that breaks spirits. Word spread. Each success story sharpened my anger. These people got out. Why couldn't Patricia? I installed hidden cameras around my property after Karen started making comments about my fancy therapist income at block parties. Must be nice charging people to complain about feelings while the rest of us work. I help people heal, I'd reply evenly. From what? Imaginary trauma? She'd laugh, but it was sharp and dangerous. Half these residents just need to learn their place. Patricia would stare at her plate, shrinking. I'd grip my fork, imagining all the ways I could use the footage I was already collecting. The hang-up call started. My office got anonymous complaints. Someone reported my car as abandoned 4 times in 1 month. Karen's harassment was subtle, unprovable, but constant. You can't prove it's her, the police shrugged. Who else would it be? I knew. Every provocation only made my file thicker. The voicemail she left after too much wine at the annual picnic sealed it. You think you're so smart with your degrees, but you're nothing but a parasite stirring up trouble. One day you'll learn respect. I saved it in 3 places. Evidence. 6 months before that 2 a.m. nightmare, I started planting the HOA rights brochures everywhere Patricia went. When Karen found one in her purse and decided it was proof of conspiracy, I knew the fuse was lit. I just didn't know how short it would be. Lying in that hospital bed, I realized my file on Karen wasn't insurance anymore. It was ammunition. And she just handed me the one thing I'd been missing: documented physical trespass and assault with my own mother as the unwilling star witness. Karen thought the night was her victory. She had no idea it was the beginning of her end. The morphine was wearing off when Detective Ramirez arrived. Patricia had left to talk to the board. Good. Some truths are easier without your mother watching you bleed. Walk me through it again, the detective said gently. So I did. Every detail. But this time I added the 7 years of context he needed. 3 weeks ago, my mother found an HOA rights brochure I'd left at her doctor's office. Karen found it in her purse and decided I was turning residents against the association. So she brought my mother here at 2 in the morning to inspect for violations. The detective's pen paused. You planted those intentionally? I'm a trauma therapist, detective. I can't force someone to leave a toxic situation, but I can make sure they know their legal options when they're ready. And tonight, Karen decided the brochure was proof I was the neighborhood villain. Your mother claims she was recording for the board. I laughed and it hurt my ribs. She filmed her daughter being assaulted instead of calling for help. There's a difference between evidence and enabling tyranny. He studied me. You seem very calm. I've been preparing for this for 7 years, I admitted. Not this exact moment, but something like it. Karen was always going to escalate. Tyrants always do. He closed his notebook. We have her on trespass and assault. With your injuries and the video, it's solid. No, it's not, I said, reaching for the thick manila folder my colleague had brought from my office. She'll get a good lawyer, claim community concern, first offense, probation. Unless. I handed him the folder. 7 years of documentation. Financial fraud. She's been skimming HOA dues into a personal consulting account. Tax evasion on her side business selling approved plants at markup. Violation of her own covenants. Her backyard is full of weeds while she finds everyone else. Threatening voicemails to at least 6 residents. Harassment complaints from 2 former board members she's silenced with NDAs that won't hold up. Detective Ramirez flipped pages, eyes widening. This is extensive. I'm thorough. I have a proposition. Connect me with the Financial Crimes Unit and the DA. In exchange, I'll give them everything, including secret recordings Patricia made when she had moments of clarity last Christmas. Your mother recorded her? She's not completely lost, just deeply broken by 13 years of this neighborhood cult. The detective stood. I'll make calls. This is bigger than simple trespass. That's the point. Assault she can spin. But embezzlement of community funds? Federal. That destroys a woman who values control above everything. After he left, I called Lydia Hale, the shark attorney I'd met at a domestic abuse conference who now specialized in HOA takedowns. "Sophia, I heard about the break-in. You okay?" "I'm perfect. And I have a case for you." I told her everything. Every angle. The video Patricia took? We can subpoena it and use it to show a pattern of enabling abuse. It might break her conditioning or destroy her. That's not your job, Sophia. She made her choice when she held up that phone. She was right. But it still hurt. Patricia was Karen's victim too, just in a different way. The next morning, Patricia came alone. She looked 10 years older. "She made bail," she said quietly. "I'm sure she's upset." She fidgeted with her purse, the same one that once held the brochure. "The police want my phone for the video. You should give it to them. They'll be so angry. I mean, Karen will." I pushed myself up, ignoring the pain. "Mom, listen. She's going to be angry no matter what. You could be perfect, never breathe wrong, and she'd still find a reason because her anger isn't about rules. It's about power." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I don't know how to leave the board." "You don't have to know. You just have to want to. I'll handle the rest." "What do you mean?" "I mean, Karen picked the wrong family to terrorize. She thinks I'm weak because I'm younger, emotional because I'm a therapist. She's about to learn how wrong she is." Patricia looked at me with something I hadn't seen in years. Hope. "You have a plan?" "I've had a plan for 7 years. I was just waiting for her to give me the opportunity." That afternoon, I made 3 calls. First to the local paper's investigative reporter who'd been sniffing around HOA corruption. Second to the state attorney general's Consumer Protection Division. Third to Karen's ex-neighbor in her previous community who was more than happy to provide a statement about the same pattern. By evening, the assistant DA was in my hospital room. "Ms. Bennett, this file is substantial." "It's just the beginning," I assured him. "I can get you more. My mother has access to all the financial records. She's willing to cooperate for immunity. She's involved. She's a signatory on accounts she didn't know existed. Karen's been using her name. She's as much a victim as anyone." He considered. "If she testifies, she's scared. But she's finally more scared of staying than leaving." "And you? You'd testify publicly?" "Gladly. I want everyone to know exactly who Karen Whitaker is." He smiled the prosecutor's smile of a slam dunk case. "We're going to bury her." "Good. But I want more than fines. I want her assets frozen. I want her reputation destroyed so thoroughly she can never do this to another neighborhood again." That night alone in the room, I started writing. Not a victim statement. A blog post titled, "My Mother Filmed My Assault by the HOA President. Here's why I'm grateful." Because Karen had finally shown her true face on camera in a way that couldn't be denied. She'd given me the perfect target. The discharge papers felt like freedom. 3 days in the hospital gave me time to weaponize every bruise. Lydia had a photographer document everything while the blood was still fresh in my hair. "Don't shower yet," she instructed. "We need the visuals." I stood in my bathroom mirror. The woman staring back wasn't broken. She was loaded. Every purple mark was now evidence. Every cut was testimony. Karen had written her own conviction on my body, and I was going to make the world read it in 4K. Patricia was waiting in my living room with a suitcase. "I left the board," she said simply. "Where is she?" "At her sister's. She thinks I'm at the grocery store." "I've been at the grocery store for 3 hours. We need to move fast." She pulled out a flash drive. "Everything's on here. Bank statements, secret meeting recordings I made when I thought I might need them someday." "You've been recording her?" "Started 2 years ago after she pushed me at a meeting and told everyone I tripped. I wasn't as blind as you thought, Sophia. Just paralyzed." I took the drive, feeling its weight. This changes everything. That afternoon, Lydia's office became War Central. She'd assembled a forensic accountant, digital expert, and PR shark who looked like she breakfasted on tyrants. First, Karen's already hired the defense attorney who got that slumlord off last year. Means she's taking this seriously and has hidden money. The accountant pulled up records. Based on what Patricia gave us, she's been skimming over $400,000 in dues. IRS will salivate. The PR woman leaned in. We control the narrative before she spins this as a concerned president. Your blog post is good, but we need national. You're young, educated, sympathetic. She's the middle-aged bully with a history. This writes itself. I don't want to be the victim, I said. You won't be. You'll be the survivor who fought back with a psychology degree and 7 years of receipts. Over the next week, we moved like a machine. Depositions. The DA upgraded charges to include financial crimes. Karen's assets froze. Her lawyer called while I was reviewing my own security footage she didn't know existed. MS. Bennett. I'm representing MS. Whitaker. I'm aware. My client is willing to pay your medical and take anger management classes in exchange for dropping. No deal. There's no settlement where Karen walks away unscathed. You're being emotional. I'm being strategic. Tell your client she should have thought about consequences before she used her master key on my door. Before she terrorized residents for 13 years. Before she thought she was untouchable. Everyone's touchable. Even you. Is that a threat? It's a reminder trials are ugly. Your mother's enabling will be examined. Do you want that scrutiny? I laughed. Your client assaulted a therapist in front of a camera after breaking and entering. She left threatening voicemails. She committed fraud the IRS is now investigating. Bring the scrutiny. I hung up and called Lydia. Add witness intimidation. The news broke perfectly timed. I sat in the studio with bruises visible under the lights. Tell us what happened, the reporter asked. I spoke calmly. No drama needed. The truth was dramatic enough. Your mother filmed instead of helping? That's a question for her. But domestic abuse, whether by a spouse or a neighborhood association, doesn't just break bodies. It breaks minds. My mother is as much Karen's victim as I am. By evening, Karen's employer, yes, she had a day job, fired her. Her country club revoked her membership. Patricia watched from my couch, crying. I'm so sorry. You couldn't protect yourself, Mom. But we're protecting each other now. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. You've made a mistake. Lydia had it traced. Violation of the restraining order. She's back in custody tonight. But jail wasn't enough. I want annihilation. I called Karen's former vice president who'd quit 2 years ago. Would you go public? I've been waiting 13 years. Within 48 hours, other victims came forward. Former residents. Employees she'd harassed. The hashtag Karen Whitaker HOA started trending. Documentary producers called. A publisher wanted the book. You're becoming the face of fighting back, the PR woman said. Good. Let every power-tripping HOA president see it and know their victims are taking notes. Karen's lawyer requested another meeting. This time Lydia and I went together. He looked tired. My client is willing to plead a trespass and accept 2 years. No. Then financial crimes, 5 to 7. No. What do you want? I leaned forward. Guilty on everything. Maximum sentences consecutive. Full restitution to every resident she stole from. Public admission. No excuses. That could be 25 years. Then she should have thought about that before she spent her life destroying communities. He'll never agree. Then I'll see her in court. And tell Karen I had 7 years of preparation. Does she? The war room expanded. Federal prosecutors joined. FBI accountants dissected every offshore account. This is bigger, the agent announced. She's been laundering for other HOAs too. She's going to flip, Lydia predicted. But I knew Karen. Her ego wouldn't let her. Patricia had been staying with me, slowly remembering who she was without Karen's shadow. She'd started therapy with a colleague I trusted. The change was beautiful. I found something, she said one morning, pulling out an old laptop. Karen doesn't know I kept this. Emails from her previous neighborhood. Threats. Blackmail. She used my account sometimes. I scrolled. Mom, this is conspiracy evidence going back 15 years. I know. I've been saving everything. Even when I couldn't leave the board I was documenting. We sat in silence. Two women who'd been preparing for the same war without knowing we were on the same side. The media storm grew. I wore my bruises like armor on morning shows. Some people ask why I didn't move sooner. But I did move, and she still found me, still broke my door. Leaving isn't enough when someone believes they own the neighborhood. The interviewer leaned in. Your mother has been criticized for filming. How do you reconcile? My mother was programmed for years to document, not intervene. Karen trained her to be a witness, not a protector. That's what control does. It rewrites instincts. But that video, it's the strongest evidence we have. In her broken way, she protected me. The courtroom was packed. Media, survivors, curious residents filled every seat. Karen sat at the defense table, a shadow of her former self. Hair graying, the perfect polo replaced by orange, the swagger gone. She thought she could manipulate her way out. She thought wrong. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Witness after witness dismantled her image. Her ex-vice president flew in. Forensic accountants laid out the fraud in excruciating detail. But the crescendo was Patricia's testimony. She took the stand in the same dress she'd worn to her first HOA meeting. Voice steady, she described 13 years of control, selective rules, escalating intimidation. Why did you film your daughter's assault instead of calling for help? The prosecutor asked gently. Because Karen trained me to document, not act. She always said no one would believe us without proof. So when she forced the door, my broken mind thought I was finally getting evidence. She looked straight at Karen. I was right. That video is sending you to prison. Karen's lawyer tried to paint Patricia as complicit. Yes, I stayed. Yes, I enabled. Yes, I failed my daughter. But abuse doesn't create perfect victims. It creates survivors doing their best with broken tools. I'm not asking forgiveness. I'm asking justice. When it was my turn, I brought 7 years of binders. I spoke for 2 hours, methodically destroying every lie Karen built her life on. MS. Whitaker told residents I was mentally unstable. Here are assessments from 3 independent psychiatrists confirming I have only PTSD from her abuse. She claimed I provoked her. I played the voicemails, her voice threatening months before. She said she was protecting the community. I showed records of her stealing $300,000 from the improvement fund and hiding it offshore. Karen watched with naked hatred. But underneath, I saw fear. She finally understood I hadn't been running. I'd been building. During cross-examination, the lawyer tried. Isn't it true you left those brochures to provoke? I left information about legal rights where residents might find it. If that provoked her, what does that say about her? You profited from this. Book deals, speaking fees. Every penny goes to a foundation for HOA victims. Karen's victims deserve something good from her violence. You seem to be enjoying this. I smiled. I'm enjoying justice. After 7 years, yes. The jury deliberated 4 hours. Guilty on all counts: assault, battery, financial fraud, tax evasion, witness intimidation. As the foreman read each verdict, I watched Karen's face crumble. Each guilty was another bar in the cage she'd built. Judge Williams, a woman who'd seen too many neighborhood tyrants, showed no mercy. MS. Whitaker, you represent the worst kind of predator, one who uses community as a weapon and neighbors as subjects. You didn't just assault Sophia Bennett. You systematically destroyed trust in an entire neighborhood. You've shown no remorse, only rage of being caught. I sentence you to 35 years in federal prison, no early release. You will pay full restitution to every victim, including the stolen dues. Your assets will fund HOA reform programs. 35 years. Karen would be 90 if she lived that long. As bailiffs moved to cuff her, Karen lunged toward our table. You destroyed me, she screamed. You manipulative little. Officers tackled her. I stood, looked her in the eyes, and said loud enough for the cameras, No, Karen. You destroyed yourself. I just documented it. They dragged her out screaming threats that added another 5 years. The courtroom erupted in applause. Survivors cheered. I only had eyes for Patricia. She was crying tears of relief for the first time in 13 years. It's over, she whispered. No, I corrected, taking her hand. We're just beginning. 6 months later, I stood before another packed room. The Sophia Bennett Foundation for Neighborhood Justice was launching, funded by the book Advance, documentary fees, and ironically Karen's liquidated assets. Every resident has a story, I told the audience. But not every resident has the resources to fight back. This foundation will change that. We'll provide legal help, therapy, safe moves, and hope. Patricia stood beside me. No longer the hollow woman who'd filmed my assault. She'd become an advocate speaking to residents still trapped. I was complicit, she'd tell them. But complicity born from fear isn't partnership. You can break free. We did. Karen's ex-vice president joined the board. Other victims reached out daily. We were building something from the ashes. The media called it the perfect revenge. They were wrong. Revenge would have been breaking her door at 2 a.m. This was justice. Calculated. Legal. Complete. Karen had spent 13 years breaking Patricia down and 7 years trying to break me. But she made one fatal mistake. She taught us to document everything. She'd shown us how patient predators could be. She just never expected us to become better predators than her. The last time I saw Karen was during a video deposition for another victim's civil case. She was in Prison Orange, shackled, looking decades older. The prosecutor asked one question. Do you accept responsibility for your actions? She looked straight at the camera, straight at me, and spat, Sophia Bennett destroyed my life. I smiled. Even now, she didn't get it. I hadn't destroyed her life. I'd simply held up a mirror and let the world see what was already there. Every fraud, every threat, every choice had been hers. I just made sure she paid for them all. As I walked out of Lydia's office after the deposition, Patricia was waiting. Feel better? She asked. I feel free, I answered. And for the first time in my adult life, it was true. Karen thought control was power. She thought fear was harmony. She thought forcing my door that night would remind me who was in charge. Instead, she'd reminded me who I really was. Not a victim. Not even a survivor. I was her reckoning. And I'd won. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Please comment below and let's connect. If this HOA Karen story resonated with you, please subscribe and share your own neighborhood nightmare. Your support helps these important stories reach others who might need to hear them and fight back.